Hello YouTube, this is JB from JB Racing. I'm going to give you a quick look at my Maxstone 5 and with a comparison to the Twin Hammers K949. This one actually is the WL Toys 10428 with some really cool aluminum wheels and aluminum parts on it. There are a couple of things about the Maxstone that I can share with you if you get one. They call it a 1/5 scale. Now I have some 1/5 scale gas stuff, King Motors, which is the same thing really as the HPI stuff and the Losi. I've got the 4-wheel drive trucks as well as a couple of buggies. Now this has a 1/6 scale Jeep body on it, which fits perfect. And then that's G.I. Joe in there, who is 1/6 scale. He's perfect. He's got a little wristwatch and some cool sunglasses. You can look at the videos of Maxstone 5 as he's crawling around. It's pretty neat to run this because it runs on such large obstacles because of its size. I like to take it to the drainage ditch with those big rocks that are almost as big as a bowling ball. And if you look at the video, that'll give you some scale of what he's running over. Each of those are almost as large as a bowling ball, and he runs through them pretty well. I really enjoy it. You'll have to hunt around to find one of these bodies. You might find one on eBay if you want it. They're a little heavy. They're heavier than the stock body by far, so you jack up the shocks a little. No big deal. Just increase your spring rates a little to compensate for that extra weight, and they work pretty well. Now you can put rear end steering on them because they do have that little arm right there. See that little arm sticking out the back? You can put another servo on there. You get a little plate that mounts right there on those holes, and it runs. You run an arm. They have a kit that's available to do that with, and have rear steering on it. I do have this stuff and I put rear steering on it, but I didn't like it as much with rear steering. Now they don't have that great of a turning radius. I'll have to admit the turning radius on them's pretty poor, but for the most part it does what I want it to do. They have 2 motors on them, one on the front, one on the back. You may have already seen these things before. I already know that. Now here's one thing that's real important. This servo. This is the best servo to use on this. I have it on all of them. The servo that comes on them stock is pretty weak. Let me get that where you can see the name on the servo. Put a little light on it. You can see the name there. I'll put it on the site. But it's a high-tech servo, and it's fantastic. And they're fairly cheap. You can get them for about 50 or 60 bucks. You can spend a lot more than that on a large rock crawler servo, but you don't really need a 1/5 scale servo for these. So if you get one of those big giant 1/5 scale servos, it's not going to mount on there, and you don't really need it anyway. So save your money on that and your effort to try to mount it, and find one like this. I'll put the number on there if you weren't able to read that. I don't have my glasses, so I can't read it either. You notice that G.I. Joe has an Air Force shirt on. That's because I was in the Air Force. So if you get one, you're definitely eventually going to have to change that steering servo out. The other thing that I wanted to show you too, besides the servos, was the body mount. Now it's pretty simple. Actually, when you take it off, you'll have that black piece of plastic that's bowed there, that kind of arched black plastic. And I just cut a piece of wood. You can see that piece of wood there. Bolted it right to the Jeep body. Did that on the front and the back. And it just bolted right on. You might tinker with the height of it. I believe that's about 3/4 of an inch to jack it up to the height that I have it. But it was extremely easy. I mean, there was no significant effort to make that body fit on this. The wheel openings of this are a little bit narrow. You can see the difference in here. I pushed it toward the front, and then I cut away a little bit right here, because when you get an extreme articulation, you can that wheel can come up and hit that body. And that happens occasionally, but I live with it because I like the way the body looks on here. I can deal with some imperfections. And this thing comes, believe it or not, in a bright orange color, which I hate. So I painted it this green. But you can see where it's worn through a little bit, but that's okay. You can always just sand them down and repaint them again sometime. But that's kind of the fun of it. This one has quite a few miles on it. The rock rings, you can see, starting to get pretty scraped up. The other one that I have, I painted the body blue, and it's hardly been used. It's practically brand new. I'll have it on here sometime and show it to you. It's really sharp. I like that blue really well, but the green is a little bit of a clash with it. I wish they would offer this. This is from Nitro RCX, and I wish they would offer that in a blue. I'm sure they're just contracting with a Chinese manufacturer for these. I wish they'd spec them as blue and reissue them again. Maybe they could call it the Maxstone 5A. Maybe put a different body on it, because I think the body that comes on the Maxstone just looks stupid. It looks like some kind of retarded beetle body. Well, just a quick look at the old Maxstone. There's videos of it running on here. You can take a look on my channel there and see them. Until next time, it's JB signing off.